In a country of 1.4 billion people, there is only one Indian woman who's reached incredible heights when it comes to the sport of tennis. No one's been able to do it before her. Nobody has been able to do it after her. That shows you how brutally difficult it is for a girl from India to win a Grand Slam. She's not just won one, she's won six of them. She was the number one ranked player in doubles in the world. And she's shown India how they can do it, but no one's been able to do it. I'm joined by someone who has lived every moment of that journey with her heartbreaks, her success, her sacrifices. He's been there throughout the way. I'm joined by Imran Mirza, Sania Mirza's father. And if there are parents who are dreaming of seeing their children achieve sporting greatness, then this is a conversation that you shouldn't miss because you're going to get pearls of wisdom from Mr. Mirza on what that journey was like to from the start to getting Sania Mirza to win a Grand Slam. Mr. Mirza, first of all, thank you so much, sir, for taking the time out to talk to us.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Meha.
Okay, let's start from the very beginning. At what point did you see that potential in Sania where you said, you know what, I've got to pursue this professionally? I see that she can achieve greatness.
I think it came a bit later because, we started off Sania in tennis at a time when we thought that, that coming from a sporting family, we thought everyone in the family should play some sport. And in Sania's case, it happened to be tennis because, as cricket was my first love, like most other Indians, but tennis was something I had also played at some level, and I enjoyed and followed it since I was a kid myself. So she started tennis when she was 6, and immediately there was a great excitement amongst the coach called me up within about I think a week of Sania starting off playing tennis, and he said, "Sir, you have to come and watch her play. She's absolutely amazing." And I had seen enough of sport and seen enough of coaches to understand that coaches do tend to get a little excited. And I had other things on my mind at that time. I wanted Sania to just enjoy her tennis. She would go to the tennis courts with my wife. And I think for 6 months I didn't even bother to go because there were other more important things of keeping the kitchen fires burning at that point of time for me. But when I did go and watch her 6 months later, uh, there was something very special in her tennis, and the way she was hitting the ball and the way she was striking. It was absolutely quite amazing for someone like me, and I understood that because I've been involved in sport all my life. I had been a sports journalist at one point of time, so I had analyzed sport. I had analyzed tennis. I understood the game for sure. And I did find her to be something very special as far as the tennis was concerned. But of course, at that point, you don't think that she's going to win Wimbledon or that she's going to be number one in the world. It was more about enjoyment, and uh, she, that's when I realized that there was some talent, and maybe she should be at some point playing at the state level or the national level, if possible. But that's what most coaches would have thought was success at that point of time. Nobody imagined that she would reach the heights that she finally did. And we were lovers of sport, and it was just great fun to just watch her hitting the ball, watch her striking with great elan. And it was never in my thoughts at that point that she was going to become the number one player of the world in tennis. We kept on encouraging her. She kept on winning. She was 7 when she beat a 16-year-old national level player, and that's when I think the Hyderabad media got excited about it. But even then, it was the goal was state or national level. The international level hadn't really crept into our minds at that stage. Uh, I think the first time when we realized that she had a future in tennis as a professional was when she won junior Wimbledon at the age of 15, uh, and she won the doubles title. And that's when we thought that maybe she has a career in this sport as a professional. And that was, I think, 2003.
Now, I think one of the things that we can establish from this that she was very talented. But then, how did you strike that balance of, not coming across as someone who's pushing her hard, at the same time, you are creating that that kind of environment with that aim that, okay, you know what, you need to keep playing because you're good at it?
I think coming from a sporting background, coming from a sporting family makes all the difference, because that's when you realize that there's something called parental pressure. And that's something that I wanted to completely avoid. I understood what parental pressure was. All parents mean well for their child, but they expect their child to be performing at the highest level all the time, which is not possible. Each one has their own levels, and one has to understand that as long as they're performing at the level that they're capable of, is something that we should be targeting. And I understood that really well, and as coming from a sporting background, and I think that really helped. I was very, very adamant that she should always enjoy the game. It was never about winning initially; it was only about enjoying and giving her best shot. I don't think I've ever been upset with her when she's lost matches. In fact, we celebrated on the day she lost matches because we had a free day the next day. I wanted to give her the feeling that as long as she tried her best, the parents were going to be happy with what she achieved. And I think that in later stages is what really helped her, because people have talked about her having a great temperament, and under pressure she was a great performer, and she would be match point down and come out with a winner. But that's because there was fearlessness, as far as I'm concerned. That she did not believe there was anything wrong in losing. She did not believe that she was going to be pulled up if she lost a match. She would be only pulled up if she didn't give her best. And I think most times she did try her best.
You make it sound like it was quite straightforward. I'm sure it wouldn't have been this straightforward when you were going through it. What were some of the challenges, sir? There was no blueprint. What Sania was achieving every day was something that had not been done before by any other female tennis player. So, when it comes to coaching, finding the right coaching, financial issues, how did you deal with all of that? Let's start with coaching first. I mean, access to the right training, how important that is, and how does one find the right coach for your child?
Well, very frankly, I don't think, since we haven't produced female tennis champions, and very few male champions as well from India, not too many people know what kind of work is involved, what kind of effort is involved, and the kind of techniques that are involved to reach the topmost level in tennis. And fortunately, I think I had an eye for sport. Uh, Thanks to the family background that we had, cricket, of course, was the first sport as far as my family was concerned. But tennis was something that I also played at some level, and we always followed very closely. So I think I did have an eye. I was a sports journalist at one point of time. So I've written about tennis. I've analyzed tennis matches, and I think I did have an eye for understanding sport, and especially tennis, and employing the right tactics and techniques to reach the top. And I think we learned it along the way. A lot of things that Sania learned were not necessarily what she learned on the tennis courts in India. It was while playing tournaments abroad, even at the junior level when she was playing international tournaments. And I had an open mind to learn things. I kept on learning. I had the benefit of traveling with her constantly and seeing the kind of techniques that were being employed at the international level. I had the benefit of talking to some of the best coaches in the world. I had the benefit of talking to some of the topmost tennis players of the world. And I kept on learning, and I'm still learning. And I think that helped a lot. Of course, nothing could have been possible without the kind of phenomenal talent that Sania had. I think we needed that kind of a talent, which was phenomenal, to break out of the non existent system that we have in our country. And it was even worse when we started out about 25 years ago.
Financially, sir, what was that like? Because it couldn't have been easy. You were going for tournaments, international tournaments at that time. Like I said, there was no roadmap before. There were no sponsors.
At one point of time, I think she was about 14 or 15, and the requirement for her travel was about 50 lakhs a year at a time when I was earning about probably 15,000 a month. So things didn't add up, of course. Of course, every penny that we earned went into her tennis. But apart from that, we needed sponsors, and we needed to convince sponsors that here we had a very special talent, and that wasn't easy, because we hadn't had any top level female tennis player, and that's the first thing that and people didn't understand the kind of finances required for to bring up a tennis player, a professional tennis player. And the first thing that prospective sponsors would ask was, what does the father do? Doesn't he work? Not realizing that what a father earns was never going to be enough for the kind of money that was required for this kind of achievement that we were looking for. Uh, uh, a lot of people made a lot of fun as far as we were concerned, because we are giving everything into it. Every penny that we earned went into it. Every effort that we were putting in, the entire family was, focused on trying to bring Sania up. And I remember a lot of people telling me that, what do you think? That you think you're going to produce another Martina Hingis or what? So that was the kind of a response we got from even from experts and from people who were involved in the sport and the family, friends, everybody. And they were justified, probably, because we had not India had not seen that kind of talent, or at that level. And yeah, but I think it's the passion that drives you on. If you have a passion for the sport, it wasn't only about making it big; it was also about enjoying the sport. And we all enjoyed the fact that Sania was doing well in whatever level she was playing. And we enjoyed her under 12 or under 14 national level or state level victories as much as we enjoyed her international successes. And I think that's important. It's not only about winning; it's about enjoying the sport, enjoying the struggle, enjoying everything that goes with it.
Mr. Mirza, you saw the system from inside. If there's one thing you want to change in how India supports its athletes, what would it be?
Well, I think athletes is one thing, but tennis is another sport altogether, because people talk about the kind of prize money there is. Wimbledon, there is the total prize money is about 53 million pounds, for a tournament. That's not very normal for other sports. So when the stakes are that high, obviously the kind of effort that goes into earning that kind of money also is very, very, very difficult. I think that's something we need to understand. That's something we need to bring in some experts. We need to spend money on that. The kind of finances that are required for an individual player need to be provided for the player if we have to produce talent. It's not everyone who can raise the kind of funds we managed to do, and we were very lucky. Everyone cannot be that lucky. Everyone cannot have the kind of supernatural talent almost that Sania seemed to have. I've been told by a lot of international coaches that they've been on the circuit for 2 or 3 decades, but they've never seen the kind of raw talent that Sania had. She may have had some technical flaws in her game because she was not taught the proper things. But as far as her natural talent was concerned, I think they all felt that she was phenomenally talented and something very, very special.
Looking back at her journey, what do you think? And looking at some of the other kids, what is it that parents get wrong when they are trying to see their child succeed in sport? And is there anything else you feel like you could have done differently as well? So, both basically a positive lesson that you've taken from her journey in what you got right, and what is one thing that could have been done differently?
I think, as far as the parents are concerned, the one thing they need to learn is that you cannot afford to put pressure on the child to perform. That's something that will take away the love for the game from the kid. That's something that is not going to help you in the long run. If the child starts feeling pressure from the parents, she or she is going to suffer in the long run as far as performance is concerned at any level. So it's very important to keep pressure away. Make sure that the child is not treated differently when she wins and when she loses. I think that's very important. A lot of parents do that. When a child wins, he's a superstar in the home, and when she loses or he loses, that then the parents seem to treat them in a different way. That's something that you need to avoid completely, because the child must feel that winning is not everything. It is enjoyment and giving your everything that counts, and it's bouncing back from losses that is important. Those are things that teach you so much in life. I think that is the most important critical thing to do. As far as learning a few things, I think physical training is something that we lacked in India. We didn't know what kind of training was required at the junior level. And it was only at about 17 or 18 years of age when we finally managed to find a professional trainer for Sania. And I think she lost out on a good 5, 6, 7 years when she could have started that out. So we were always catching up with that. And I think that's something that I would have changed. Tried to get her to train in a proper manner with a special professional coach who could train her when she was maybe 10, 11, and that would have really upped her game in the long run.
Yeah, there have been videos of Alcaraz as an 11-year-old going through intensive training, and you think, wow, at 11, if this is what the child is doing, then obviously by 22, he's going to be in a Grand Slam final. Unfortunately, he lost last night, but Yannick Sinner was brilliant. Sir, you uh, you were not just a parent, you were her coach, mentor, guide all along the way. That relationship, how difficult was it for you to manage that? Because as a parent, your child, as a father, your child would want you to take it, just go easy on her. But at the same time, as a coach that maybe on that particular day, she needs to work harder. So just balancing that and also making sure that that relationship is intact, that, she's able to share her insecurities with you. Um, how did you manage that?
Yeah, I think you're right, but I had a very simple formula for that. It was always parent first. It was never the coach first. So whenever there was any issue, I always looked at it from a parental point of view rather than from a coach's point of view. And then it was the coach once we had settled this out. And I think that's another place where parents who are coaching their kids make an error. They start believing their coaches first, and I think that's a very wrong attitude to have. You have to remain. You can get other coaches, you can't get another father.
Was there a moment when she felt like quitting, when she was down, and you had to then play the counselor, the psychologist, the person who's telling her that, look, I know these are hard times, maybe an injury.
Several times, I think that happened quite a lot, because Sania was the first person to be achieving the kind of fame and the kind of success that anybody had achieved, not only in tennis but in a lot of other ways. She was probably the first genuine superstar amongst women in India in sport, and because of that, there's a lot of pressure from on there. But the media was also constantly at her at one point of time, and they did actually. I thought the media itself didn't know how to handle us. A female sporting icon who was also performing all the time, and they didn't know how to take care of that. And because of that, there was a lot of pressure. And there were times when Sania did think that I shouldn't have played this game because the kind of negativity that I'm having to face because of this. And even we felt at one point that maybe we had blundered by getting into a sport as a professional tennis player. But then the passion remained, and that was something that kept egging us on. That's something where we needed to help her get back, to performing on the tennis courts rather than taking care of all the controversy that were happening and that were being created most of the time.
The sports versus education dilemma that all parents deal with when they're trying to get their child to do well in sports. They think, oh, what should we do now with his studies, his or her studies? What was that like for you? How did you manage academics alongside tennis? And what's the advice that you'd give to parents who are at that crossroad?
I've been very adamant about the fact that there's no reason to give up studies, and you should never think of even doing that. If you're trying to become a professional sportsman or at least a professional tennis player, that's something I know about. You have to keep one foot in your school, in your schooling, and in your education, so that in case this doesn't work out, you must always be able to get back to your education. I think it's around when you're 15 or 16 or 17. That's when you can decide whether you can become a professional or not in the sport. And if not, tennis is something that you can play all your life, but not professionally. So you have to get back to your education and try to make another career, rather than wasting too much time if you think you don't have it. So that's something you have to, every 6 months or 1 year, as a parent, I would reassess whether Sania was continuing to progress in the sport and whether it was worthwhile carrying on in that. And I didn't ever have to get back on that because she kept on performing.
There is often resistance from extended family, from society, especially for girls, especially at the time that Sania started playing tennis. What was that like, when a girl tries to chase unconventional dreams? And what was your role as a parent in trying to um, protect her from that kind of noise around her?
Yeah, you're right. That does happen. But when you have that kind of love and passion for a sport, and sport in general and tennis specifically, you tend to take these things in your stride, and that's what happened. And I don't think Sania really cared for what other people were saying. It was more important what the parents felt, and I think that's the key. A child when growing up is very sensitive to what the parents feel and what they say along the way, and so that's why the role of a parent in tennis is extremely important, and that's something that I cannot explain enough, that parents have a very important role to play, and they have to play a positive role. If they play a role that is negative, then that's not going to help. It's going to make things worse.
Then I'm going to ask you this as well. How did you keep her grounded when success started coming in? Because that was another thing that she was dealing with that would have been difficult, right?
That was not an easy thing to do because, she was 15 or 16 when she was already a superstar and she had the world at her feet. And keeping her grounded was not easy. But the good part was that either me or my wife were constantly traveling with her. And that's one thing we decided on very early in her career, that if we were not able to afford one of us traveling along with her for the tournaments, then she would stop playing tennis because we didn't want her to get into the kind of things that go on the circuit. You have good-looking, very successful, moneyed people on the circuit, earning a living out of sport and doing a great job of it. And but a lot of them are not educated enough. They don't have enough parental support at that point, to do the right things. And we were pretty adamant that success as a person, as a personality, was going to be more important to us than success in tennis.
Did you ever consider moving abroad for better opportunities for her?
For some reason, no, because I always was very adamant that I wanted to produce, if at all, an international level tennis player from my own country. I was very adamant about that. I don't know why that came into my head. But and the other thing was, if she was to be sent abroad for some training, she would have to go alone in most cases. We wouldn't be able to afford or be able to stay with her. That's something we were not ready to do when she was still a kid. She was while she was developing as a person and as a tennis player. We made sure that one of us was always there, and it didn't suit our plans to be doing things and letting her do something abroad. And I had it in me that I wanted to produce a tennis player out of India, an Indian player out of India.
For parents who are watching, young parents, of future champions listening right now, sir, what is the advice that you'd give them, you know, that they should be doing with their child if they see that spark in him or her?
The first thing, like I said, keep the pressure out of the way. Don't put any kind of pressure because the child feels pressure from the parents rather than from anywhere else in the world. And that, I think, is the key because Sania is someone who has completely defied pressure when it comes to the big stage. And I think this has played a very vital role in her temperament, in being able to perform at the highest stage without feeling any kind of pressure. When she lost all along in the junior days, we, like I said, we would be celebrating because we had an extra day where she wasn't going to be practicing the next day. So it was never any problem if she lost. She knew at the back of her mind that if I lose, as long as I give my best, I'm going to get a pat on my back from my parents. And I think that's a very important thing. It may seem a small thing. It's not easy to do. Remember, as a parent, you've put in everything. You put in your career on the line. You've put all the money you have saved, all the money you have earned. You've put in all your time into a profession, and then you see your child playing a miserable match. It's not easy to keep steady after that. But that's the tough part to do. And you need to have that kind of passion and love for the sport to be able to do that.
Thank you for being Imran Mirza and for giving India Sania Mirza. Thank you for this
Thank you.
wonderful conversation.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. My pleasure.